Hey, good morning, people. Good to be with you again. Thank you for joining with me. We're in the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, and we're looking at verse 3 right now. We've been looking at it for a couple of days so far. I want to finish it off today if possible. There's still so much that could be said, but let's have a go at it. Paul is talking about different examples that he uses of what it means to be a person of faith, what it means to be a believer. And he uses one beautiful picture, that of being a soldier. And in verse 3, it's just a short verse, it just simply says this: endure hardship with us like a good soldier of Christ. No one serving as a soldier gets involved in civilian affairs. He wants to please his commanding officer. Now, I love that verse because there's so much in those few words. Today I want to look at just those two words, with us. He says that I'm not the only one that's suffering like this, so join with us, the rest of us. Sometimes we think we're the only ones in the world that are suffering, eh? Sometimes we think we're the only ones in the world that are going through challenges, and we think we're all alone in this big wide world that is so ugly and mean to us. But let me tell you, there are others. And the power of others finding others is incredibly powerful and is completely necessary for you to be able to weather the storms of what good soldiering is all about, and the conflict and all that kind of stuff that goes with being a soldier. Now, the with us factor reminds me of a talk that I heard by Simon Sinek. Great talk. And he told a great story. He said that there was at some conflict, some war, somewhere, an officer with a number of his troops, and they'd come under enemy fire, and a number of his men had been injured and were dying. And this officer ran into the crowd with all the blood and the bush and the bullets going on flying all around him, and he dragged his men into the helicopter to take them to safety. But what was really touching was not only did he commit an incredible act of bravery and self-sacrifice, which is what all soldiers should be about. Don't join the army unless you're willing to make a sacrifice. And he ran in there self-sacrificingly, dragged this man to the helicopter, loaded him in, and then he kissed him on the forehead. Now, that story completely, it kind of blows me away. And I look at a man like that and I say, where do you find people like him? We're all in it for ourselves. The moment the bullets fly, we run. But here was a man who self-sacrificingly, for the motive that is pictured in that kiss of love, of commitment, of deep self-sacrifice, was able to do that in the face of the oncoming enemy. Wouldn't it be great if the church was like that? There are many places that the church is like that. I don't want to knock it. I'm sure there are great places where self-sacrificing people lay down their lives for the people in their congregations and the people in their churches. But the question still remains, what was on that man's mind? What kind of people do that? Well, Simon Sinek has a theory. He says it was all as a result of the environment of being a soldier. You see, when you join the army, you leave certain things behind. You leave the pettiness of the old life behind. You leave the small-mindedness of the old life behind. You take with you into it the willingness to obey, even when you don't understand or even agree. You take into this conflict or this army situation the willingness to lay down your life if that is what it requires. And Jesus tells us this. He says, if you want to follow me, take up your cross, which means basically laying down your life for the cause of Christ. And when you do that, the key for me today is to know you're not alone. With us, he says, come and lay down your life with us. Be a good soldier with us. You see, Sinek's theory is good. The church is the with us factor. If you're trying to be a Rambo, a Christian Rambo, all out there on your own, and you don't need the fellowship, you don't need the rough and tough and the sharpening of the edges of who you are, and the iron sharpening iron and all that stuff that happens within the body of Christ. I predict, and I'm not being pessimistic, you're not going to last very long. Rambo may be a hero in the movies, all on his own, take on 10,000 people and he does them all in. That might be true in the movies, but it's certainly not true in life. Certainly not true in the military either. Very few people can survive for any length of time without camaraderie, without people to stand behind you, to fight with you in areas where you can't see, to support you from behind. And when you try and do it alone, it's a miserable death. So I'm just encouraging you today, don't try and do it alone. Do it with us. With us. And I'm first to say that we're not perfect. I am the first to say that we're going to disappoint you. We're probably going to disillusion you. And some of you are going to get mad with us. But you need us. And we need you. And when we do it together, that camaraderie, that fellowship is the biblical word that I'm looking for, the fellowship of the believers, despite our differences of ethnics, of colors, of cultures, of socioeconomic groups, despite all that, we will stand together and we will stand against the enemy. And you know what? We stand 100,000 times greater chance of survival when we do that. What is an army when it's only one man or one woman or one Christian? Not very much. I predict they're not going to last very long. So if this message is for you today, maybe you watch this instead of doing other things that you know you used to do maybe. Being in fellowship, finding for yourself a small group where you can build close relationships with us people and do this Christian life together, and you will surely find that the victories will be coming through, that you will be defended, and you'll feel a whole bunch better, and you'll finish well at the end of the war. You see, it's so easy for us to win the battle sometimes and lose the war. And when we win certain little individual battles and we say, yay, I won that battle, but hey, there's a lot coming around the corner. You can win a battle, but it's unlikely that you're going to win the war. But that's what we want, isn't it? So, soldiers of Christ, stick together. Put up with one another's idiosyncrasies. Develop, for goodness sake, a sense of humor. That would be helpful. And have a good day. Bye.